This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour being brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports domestics microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Weekend's coming up. Water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready-to-drink cocktails like High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal. Pickle bar led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. Stock up for the weekend. Looks like the weather's going to be improving. And start thinking about the 4th of July, which is a natural 3-day weekend this year. Yeah. Things are going to get rolling here on the 3rd of July. I know that. Spikes have a home game in the 3rd, big fireworks display. Then Joe Putnam and I are going to go to Williamsport, do that 1 o'clock game on the 4th of July and come back in time to watch Fourth Fest here and then play some golf on Saturday. Yeah, I have all sorts of plans, Todd. All sorts of plans.
I can tell.
Come on, let's go. Lots of plans. Let's go. Just got to fight our way through the next few weeks here.
At least the U.S. Open trip is sprinkled in there.
Yes, it is. Which is also, it's going to be, I've got 2 days worth of stuff here. I'm speaking to the Penn State Club of the Laurel Highlands on Tuesday night, the 10th. Is that the 10th? Yeah, the 10th, and then the 11th. I'll do what we're doing from the U.S. Open. And then when that's over with, then I'll go across over to Fox Chapel. And Fox Chapel and Oakmont are very close to each other. And that's where the NIL event is for Penn State. James Franklin's going to be there, and some former players are going to be there, including Pat Fryermuth and so forth. Oh, yeah. And then it's Father's Day weekend, and I can freely admit to you I will be doing nothing. Nothing at all. Yeah. Nada. What are you going to be doing? Nothing. Cut the lawn or something, who knows. But, yeah.
A dad-like activity.
Hey, why not? You know what? The whiteout game is what Penn State fans had hoped for. We have not said that the last couple of years. It's been frustrating for Penn State fans to not have an Ohio State or a Michigan game as the whiteout game. But now, they wanted Oregon. You got Oregon. Okay? So there you go. You wanted Oregon. You got Oregon. That'll be the whiteout game, and it's going to be West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium on Saturday night, September 27th at 7:30, and NBC will get the game. So there you go. That's and then the opener with Nevada is going to be a 3:30 game. That means we're on at 2 o'clock. FIU will be at noon. We're on at 10:30. Villanova will be 3:30. We're on at 2. Oregon will be 7:30. We're on at 6. There you go. Looking forward to it. Should be, I'm getting asked a lot of questions. On interviews about where they could potentially be ranked and so forth. And I said, look, I have no problem with that. Look, you want to be around something with expectations. Yeah, and at least I do. I mean, and as I've said before in the show, there have been some, not many, but some that have ridiculed the 1-0 that James Franklin talks about all the time. Well, James Franklin doesn't need to convince you about 1-0. He needs to convince everybody in his building about 1-0. In other words, hey, and don't go out as if you're trying to keep, like you have something to lose. It's not a question of something to lose. The 1-0 is just lock in and play your game and don't think about anybody else except this game. That's all it is. Now, as a fan, you have the luxury of looking ahead to the whiteout game. As a fan, you have a luxury of looking toward that trip to Columbus at the beginning of November. Okay? When you're a football coach and assistant coaches and you have a team, you need to lock in on Nevada. But you also want to have a group that has expectations. I mean, I'd rather be around something that has expectations. Now, let's give Indiana credit where credit's due. They came out of nowhere last year and made the college football playoff and played that opening game at Notre Dame. I mean, you've got to give Cignetti and that group, Kurt Cignetti and that group, a lot of credit for doing that because they're the one team that came out of nowhere. SMU, I think a lot of people thought was going to be in the thick of what was going on in the ACC. You could kind of tell in the offseason they had a shot at it, and then when the season started and they started going along, you're like, okay, they do have a shot at it. Indiana didn't give anybody that feeling until suddenly in mid-October you're looking around like, they haven't lost any games yet, And, so you'll have that. But Alabama has expectations every year. Georgia has expectations every year. It's okay for Penn, and Ohio State has expectations every year. I think it's okay for Penn State to have expectations too. They have so many veterans back. But there's a process to doing this. The next step of the process now is going through the off-season workouts. Okay? So now you're into that step of the process. Then it's going to be the preseason process. You can't skip steps. And game-wise, you can't skip steps. You can't skip from Nevada to Oregon. You can't skip from Oregon to Ohio State. That's if you're the team. If you are a fan, you can. There's zero issue on my part about that at all. None. Zero. Because you're not the one that has to go out and coach it or play it. Right? You're in a critical part of it. But it's the coaches convincing the players that, look, hey, guys, you got to be 1-0 this week. Okay? Figure out a way to do it. Because they're the ones that have to execute it and play it.
Did you see what Kurt Cignetti said? I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday afternoon at the meeting.
No,
they asked him about needing a couple more players, and basically said, I'd like to go get more players, but I don't have any money left because they took a lot of my money because Darren didn't have any players for the basketball team.
That I'm not surprised by that. How about that?
Well, I just say that just because they spent so much money last year on the basketball team. I can't imagine they spent that much more this year. Oh, yeah.
No. To be honest with you, well, let's get to let's do the basics here. You can do the $20.5 million any way you want. Now, what he is talking about is not the $20.5 million. Because we've got this Wild West of 5 more weeks to go, the Wild West of you pay whatever you want in NIL. And believe me, in basketball, Yannick was not offered $1.95 to come back. He was offered 7 figures, and they tried to increase it in the past week to see if they could somehow get him to come back. So, I mean, look, the effort was there, and the numbers were really good. So, okay. So it was probably whatever the NIL group is for Indiana. They threw all the money into Darian DeVries and basketball because at Indiana, that's been their MO forever. And, going back to Branch McCracken, then Bob Knight. So, I don't know if you saw Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, who, by the way, it's the stories about the Texas-Ohio State game are ridiculous. Have you seen the headlines on that?
I have.
Yeah, I want to go to church. He was kidding around when he said it. He gave the legitimate answer. He said, "Look, he said they talked to us about going to on Sunday night. I didn't like the idea because we had to play next Saturday, and it would have been one less day, plus getting back early in the morning on Monday to do it." That was the answer. Instead, because he was being flippant, I want to go to church. He was just fooling around. That's the headline. Like, do we have adults that cover sports anymore? We need more adults. I mean, come on.
I think people were a little annoyed that he was saying that they need that extra day to prepare for San Jose State as well.
But it's more than that, though. The game would have been in prime time. They would not have gotten back to Austin until about 4 or 5 in the morning on Monday. Okay? And, and look, they do enough with student athletes right now where you've got them playing all over the lot to fill TV time slots. I'm sorry. I'm with Chris Del Conte on this. It would be nice to have if they had a bye week, but they don't have a bye week, and it doesn't matter who they're playing.
Devil's advocate, Texas would certainly expect Ohio State to switch to 8 o'clock on Sunday and come down there and play in Austin at that time slot.
That's a good question.
The SEC schools are very, very good about playing all the athletes until it's time for time for them to take advantage of something.
I don't know if Ohio State would do that if they had a game on Saturday.
Well, I'm not saying that. I am not saying that that neither team is in the wrong or the right, but I'm saying they would certainly expect Ohio State to placate them and come down and play on Sunday night, and would be annoyed just the way the Ohio State people are annoyed.
Yeah.
I mean,
if the game were Saturday night, then I'd have a real problem with Texas saying no to it. Sunday night, the game would be at 7:30. You'd be done at 11. You wouldn't even be out of the locker room until midnight to 12:30 in the morning. It's a half hour to Port of Columbus Airport. You then have to go through security. Then you got to make the flight back. They wouldn't get back until 4:35 in the morning on a Monday.
It is a holiday. They don't have to go to class.
Yeah, that's very true. They wouldn't. And I don't know what Steve Sarkisian's practice schedule is. I don't know.
I do think it's a little strange. I always thought that Sunday game was scheduled for 8 o'clock.
Maybe it is 8 o'clock.
Well, no, I just mean I'm a little surprised that it wasn't already scheduled for 8 o'clock, that they're still... Because that's usually what they try to do, is make that Sunday before Labor Day, like that LSU, whoever they played last year, Florida State, like make it a real big game since there's no competition. I'm surprised it wasn't already scheduled for night. How's that?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Look, if they did a schedule reveal like I suggested a couple weeks ago, they have a lot of this filled out. I mean, that's just me. I don't see what's so complicated about what college football does. I don't see what's so complicated about it. I mean, they act as if it's the Manhattan Project. I'm like, no, just pick a kickoff. Let's go. I mean, no offense, we could put 30 college football fans in a room. We could do the schedule.
And I mean, it's college football. They're going to get a bunch of people to watch that game, regardless if it's Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. But
exactly. I mean, what will happen is, Penn State doesn't play till 3:30, so Jack and I will watch some of it in the booth. And I'm not sure where they're putting us for the pregame show yet. We actually may. We may. I don't know where they're talking about putting us in a couple different spots for the pregame show, but we'll watch as much as we can before we go over, because we're not going to be on until 2:00.
Oh, do you guys play that day? I thought it was Labor Day weekend.
It is. August 30th is Labor Day weekend.
I'm not sure that I thought that was I'm not sure I realized Penn State played that weekend already.
Yeah, they're playing Nevada.
Oh, all right. I must be a week behind.
No, because August 30th throws people off, but Labor Day is the first Monday of September, and it turns out it's September 1st, the earliest it can possibly be.
Oh. Boy, I bet the high school football the high school football opening football date is pretty early then if September 1st is Labor Day.
It's got to be August 22nd.
Oh, Lord. Well, that'll be a warming.
Yeah, I mean...
we might, with that kind of schedule, the Pennsylvania high school football playoffs might start before Halloween without looking at the schedule.
Well, Halloween is a Friday this year.
That might be the first. That might end up being the first day.
Really?
Yeah, because of what? 10 weeks. 10 weeks from the 22nd.
Yeah. Wow. How about that?
I'm not ready to. I'm not prepared to be ready for high school football yet. I'll get to the All-Star game on June 20th, and then we'll start with next season.
Who plays in the All-Star game?
It's a North-South thing. It's a District 4 All-Star game.
Good. That's nice.
The Football Coaches Association sponsors it. It's June 20th up at Towanda this year.
Good.
They switch it between the Northern Tier and the Southern Tier.
So you're going to go up to Towanda?
As far as I know.
Oh, cool. That's great. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, the only bad thing about it is I have to drive to Towanda.
Yeah. But it's up in near where my dad grew up, which people would not know. But he grew up in Warren Center, Laureysville, which is near Towanda.
It's not the drive up. It's a drive back on 220 in the two lanes and the deer at 12 o'clock at night that I'm not particularly fond of.
Yeah, that's the brutal part. So I'll tell you a story about going through there. Had a neighbor. And Kathy was out of town. I know. Her family went to Cape Cod, and I was going to join them, but we've had Paul Alexander on the show. Paul got married right about that time, so I had to work my shift, his shift. That way he could go on his honeymoon. Okay? And so I couldn't leave with everybody else. So I had to work through Friday night before I could leave. Okay. And all of a sudden, I'm done with work, and I get a phone call from my neighbor. And she says, Ted and their little girl, their car broke down just over the line in New York. We could use some help. I said, okay. I guess I know who that is. Right? And so, Ed DeChellis just texted me. Says, is that suit guy going to be there tonight? I'm like, everybody's the same. You know what I mean? So I said, okay. So I get in the car and I drive up through Towanda. I go up through Williamsport. I take 220. I go up through Towanda, through Laraysville and Warren Center and up through that area there. And he's just over the line. I think, is Waverly, New York's on the other side of Sayre? Something like that.
Yes.
All right, so I get to Sayre, Waverly, New York, and I find Ted and their little girl, and she's a little sweetheart, and they had a Volkswagen. And I brought some tools with me, and I said, let's see what we can do to get you going here. And he looks at me, he says, oh, no, it runs. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, doggone it. I said, all right, well, let's open up the back anyway. And I had a crowbar. And I used a wrench. I loosened up, Volkswagen's easy. Just opened it up, loosened up the motor. I then took the crowbar, pushed back the motor to tighten the fan belt because his light kept coming on. And then I bolted it up and the whole thing, and then I followed him all the way back. And you ever see the movie Unstoppable with Denzel Washington, Chris Pine?
Yes.
But with the train?
Yeah.
And, of course, that's filmed, almost all of it's filmed here. There's a scene early in the movie where the guy that helps out, that is the guy they depend on to make sure certain things happen. They call him because they need him to stop the runaway train, and it turns out he can't do it. Well, he's at a restaurant, okay? And the restaurant is Sunset West in Pleasant Gap. He pulls over there because he didn't want his wife to be mad at him. I'm like, I got back at like 3 a.m. I was like, oh, God, I was exhausted. But, yeah, I think it's the last time I went through Towanda. So I was like, oh. I mean, I think I did the nice thing, But I got up there and went, what the heck am I doing?
I always say to my wife, no good deed goes unpunished.
Oh. So yeah, I got it. I got it done. Yeah, and yeah, I'll never forget that night. I'm driving along. I mean, it's not a short trip from State College to Waverly, New York.
No,
right? Like, okay, so I got there, and when I got there, I found out the car was in much better shape than I was told. I was like, doggone it. Oh.
And then you got back and the car was in way better shape than you.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm like, jeez. Killing me here. But, hey, as long as they were okay, especially the little girl, but I was like, what are we doing here? I had that. I said, okay, let's at least do something here. All right. So I did something. I tightened up the fan belt on and the whole thing. And I followed them all the way back.
For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Final half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. For Kia Hyundai, best in new inventory. Great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. And a terrific service department, whether it's quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult. They handle it all. At Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. So there you go. And what do you think about the expansion idea of, because Charlie Baker's talking about it now, and they've talked to CBS and Warner Brothers Discovery, a.k.a. Turner, about the expansion, maybe as many as 8 to 76. What do you think of that?
It's one of those things I'm torn about. I get it. I get what you and Nate were talking about the percentages, but I'm kind of with. I think I saw Mike DeCourcy retweet his column from back when they started talking about this in March. If North Carolina can get in with one quad one win, what are we adding to the tournament?
Right. No, I understand that. I understand that completely.
And that's. I also think Seth Davis is, they're acting like you're going to get a fourth A-10 team in, a second team from one of the non-power conferences. I just find it hard to believe this isn't a way to fill it up with more middling big conference schools. And I get the part about Cinderella not meaning much after the first weekend, but I think people are going to be. I think we're in the same boat as we are in college basketball. People are going to be upset about it until it happens, and then nobody's going to care once, one of those first 4 new games goes into overtime or is close.
Right.
It's one of those things. I'm not in favor of it, but they'll probably do it, and I'll get used to it, and I won't care anymore.
Yeah, they haven't expanded the tournament in years.
I didn't think I'd like the 68 in the first the Tuesday thing, and I don't mind. I find those games just as entertaining as any other first round game. Yeah.
No, it's good. I think that's worked out fine.
And they'll figure out a way to make that first weekend, different if they decide that you need an extra weekend to play some of those play-in games.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm okay with it because of the percentages of it. Does it open the door for a Wake Forest to get in? Probably. I think it just depends on the year as to whether it opens the door for another Mountain West or Atlantic 10 team or somebody like that to get in. I think it's just going to depend on the year.
I think with the way the structure of college basketball itself is going, I don't know how it can't be more of those bigger schools just because, like we talked a little bit about yesterday, if you're halfway decent at a mid-major, you're ending up in one of the higher level schools to play your junior and senior year. And those guys, you and Nate talked about how many guys decided to stay and play college basketball next year. I just think with the deeper teams and the guys staying longer, that it ends up being the Wake Forests of the world that end up mid-level ACC, just because they probably will be the more talented and better team than those mid-majors by that point.
Right. Yeah. I would change if they do this. This is how I would change the first 4. I'd do one in Dayton. I'd make that an Eastern first 4, and I'd do a Western first 4. I don't know what you think of that, if they were to do it.
I do like that, and I'd like to find a way to get the 16 seeds out of it. Just for the sheer fact, those 16 seeded conferences, it's real hard for them to get out of that game. So I mean, you're getting the same 3 or 4 conferences in that 16 seed playing game, but I don't know how fair it is to make the 15s play in though either.
Yeah,
it's just. Do you do 8-9s to play the 1 seed? I guess you couldn't do that, but I mean, do you play it off for the 8 and 9s because they get the 1 seed in the second round? Do you? I mean, I don't know. I just feel it's a little weird to make the all the 16 teams play in, and then the 12 teams. I feel like. I don't know if you rotate it or, because you're getting the MEAC and the Patriot League and some of those other conferences as the 16 seeds all the time.
And how about if I give you a counter argument to that? We'll have some fun with it here. And the counter argument would be as follows. You know what the 16 seeds get out of playing in Dayton? One of them gets a win. And they can claim that forever.
And it still counts as an NCAA tournament win.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. In other words, that would be my point. That that the winner of that game, 16 versus 16, forever has a win. And I think that there is some value to that. And at some point, one of those 16s is going to win a game and is going to give them momentum going into the next round and may knock off a one.
It has literal value too. You get that, you get another chip for winning that 16 versus 16 game, right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yep. So your conference is going to get 2 rounds minimum, which everybody can divide.
Which, let's be honest, is probably the best bet for those schools to get a second round anyway.
I mean, that's one of the issues that's been financially for the Patriot. They've been getting knocked out in the first round with regularity of late. Let's face it, when Lehigh made that run, beat Duke, you're like, okay. Right, when Bucknell won. Okay. It was beneficial for everybody in the conference.
Again, the previous point that I was talking about, do Mike Muscala and C.J. McCollum get to their senior years at Lehigh and Bucknell in this era of basketball?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I think before Mike and C.J., the last NBA player in the Patriot League was Donald Foyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to see somebody stick out like a sore thumb.
Man,
a Donald Foyle in the Patriot League in the late 90s.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
I was just kidding. Oddly enough, the best guard on that team, Mark Linebaugh, played his high school coach is Scott Parra.
Oh, okay. And Scott's now the new GM here at Penn State basketball.
Yes.
I'll get a chance to meet Scott tonight.
I looked that up. I thought he was a little younger than Mike. He's a little older than Mike.
He's a little older than Mike.
He was an assistant he was a young assistant at E-Town when Mike was at Lebanon Valley.
Yeah. Yep.
God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I told the story about my friend meeting him down at SU and having to help him pay his way in.
No.
Well, this is during the season. He went down he forgot his wallet or something. But the point of the story was I had to remind my friend that we covered him in college.
Oh.
I don't remember that. I know, but we did, I swear.
Jeez.
Yeah, he forgot his wallet to come down and see the boy play near the end of the SU men's season.
Oh, jeez.
And he needed a $5. I'm thinking at SU, Mike probably could have, flashed some sort of Penn State ID, and they probably wouldn't have messed with him. But
wow. Well, the whiteout game is going to be Oregon. Finally, the fans get what they want, and to be honest with you, it's. I have not the TV network thing. That's the one game that bothers me over and over again. It is obviously a signature game. Okay? So 2 years ago, CBS airs the whiteout game. Well, they wanted to do this whole big production about what the whiteout means, and they asked me to be a part of it on camera and taking you through the history of the whiteout and the whole thing. They put a lot into it because they thought it was a big deal. Last year, the game was on Peacock. Like, are you kidding me? It was against Washington, but it was on Peacock. Now, we do radio, so it doesn't affect us. But I thought, what a slap in the face. Right? This year, it's going to be on NBC. It's Penn State, Oregon. Okay, big opponent, big time deal, right? That's great. Okay? The whiteout is one of those signature games. And yet this conference has treated it like just another Saturday in September.
I do wonder if this is part of them learning their lesson.
I hope. I don't know. I hope.
And I think once people see that atmosphere on prime time at NBC and get those ratings back on Monday or Tuesday, I think you'll be seeing a marquee whiteout game from now on.
This is the first marquee whiteout game since Auburn.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was what, 2021? Sounds right?
Yeah, I mean, we were.
It's been what, Minnesota, Iowa, and Washington, right?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, how late was it last year when they decided it was the Washington game? Then weren't they holding out?
Yeah, it took a while.
I was going to say everybody's holding out hope that they could get one of the other ones in the prime time, and now they have 3 months to prepare.
Yeah. So this is great. You get the matchup you were hoping for as your whiteout. It's the marquee home game, and it turns out it's the whiteout game. It's at the end of September, so the odds of the weather at least being palatable temperature-wise is much better because that's the first weekend of autumn.
I mean, we can assume, but after this spring.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, that's what I mean. I said we're guessing. It's really like Michigan, Ohio State's been treated as gigantic and this, that, and the other thing. Penn State does this. And every single person that watches it refers to it now as a bucket list thing. Remember we had Peter King on the show. Peter King, it was after the Auburn game. Peter was on the show and he says, "Gee, Steve," he says, "that's a bucket list game." I says, "I'm watching that game. I wish I was sitting there." Right? Well, okay. And yet the TV networks have treated it as, yeah, we'll pick a game. It'll be your whiteout. Do whatever you want. Okay. I mean, really? I mean, that's I don't get what TV should be aching to do this. And I realize for Fox they've got Big Noon and they want to put the marquee game on at Big Noon and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I just think they've treated it like it's an afterthought. And in this conference, no offense, but This is one of the top 5 moments in the conference, and they have not treated it like a top 5 moment. I'm talking about the TV networks.
Yeah. Well, again, I do wonder. We talked a lot about them learning lessons from that first year of the Big Ten. I just wonder if this is one of them. Finally,
I hope. I hope.
And we say this, and it's Northwestern next year.
Yeah. Well, it could have been Northwestern this year.
Yeah,
believe me,
true.
Northwestern's here.
Yeah, that's true.
But at least at least it's set, and at least it's the matchup that you would prefer to have it in that spot. Should be quite a night here. Should be crazy.
I'm guessing that's going to be a pretty wild week overall.
Yeah, I think it will be, especially coming off a bye week.
I think you might have an interview or two to do that week, Steve.
That's fine. It's all part of the job. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it's all part of it. I remember one year I think it was Ohio State. And Jack Ham called me up on a Thursday, and he said, "How many of these have you done this week?" And I said, I gave him whatever number it was. He goes, "Oh, man, I've done just the same." The two of us kept lamenting, just want to get to Saturday and get to the game. Answering the same questions over and over again. Like, okay. I think, what is it, last year? Like, I remember being asked last year by somebody. You get almost everybody asked the same question. All right. Every once in a while you get something different. And they said, how is the team this week? I said, oh, yeah, the coaching staff's fine, the team's fine. I said, the fans are a wreck. Because they were. They were a wreck. Then it didn't go well, and it's like, okay. So.
To be honest, the college football playoff saved probably, 3 weeks of listening to that?
Yeah, I would think so. And that's why in the post-game show, this is the perfect person to talk to about this is Jack Ham, who played pro football all those years, and they won 4 Super Bowls. And I said, Jack, how many of those 4 Super Bowl wins were you undefeated? He says, none. I said, right. I said, so the next 4 games, starting with Washington, ironically, the whiteout game was next. I said, it's a 4-game playoff to make the playoff. And they won all 4 games and they made the playoff. That changed the perception of the entire season because they made the playoff. Because if they'd gone through although if they just had 4, Penn State would have made it. Because again, Penn State in the final poll was 4th. Notre Dame would not have made it.
I do wonder, though, if it's the old system, if they have the same juju after that Ohio State game. Because, of course you know, but it was the last weekend of the season that kind of got them into the 4.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if they have the juice to win those last 4 games, especially to come back against Minnesota if you don't think you have a chance.
It's a good question. I'm glad I don't have to answer it.
That's true.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.